Hey everyone, it's Allison, and if you follow me on Instagram, which I assume you do, I don't know, whatever, you probably saw me posting about this book, The Power of Myth by Joseph Campbell and Bill Moyers, or with Bill Moyers, whatever. It's written as like a discussion between the two about, you guessed it, mythology and the power of it. And I bought it because, or actually it was a gift. I asked for it because I'm really fascinated by mythology, and especially comparative mythology, because I just think it's absolutely incredible that so many different myths across different cultures have so many similarities. What was exciting was how much they talked about art in this book, and artists specifically. Like, I wasn't expecting that at all, but I was like, this is the perfect book for me because I'm an artist. I like mythology. It's like they knew. I just finished it, and because it really inspired me artistically and I wasn't even expecting it, I thought it'd be fun to do a video about it while I add some more details to the hair. So I'm gonna do that right now. So first of all, I'm using a finer tipped pen right now. I'm using the like 005. Can you see that? Now you can. Whereas for these bigger lines, I was using the 1. So this should help me really get in between there. Well, let's see. Yeah. And this is what I'm gonna do for the next, I don't know, the next few years of my life. Who knows? Months, weeks, days, hours, for sure. Anyway. So, The Power of Myth, like I said, I was excited to read just because I know Joseph Campbell is one of the leading, professors, one of the leading minds in comparative mythology. Well, I was excited because Joseph Campbell has so many great books and so much to say about mythology. Like, you hear his name all the time, especially with things like The Hero's Journey. He's just an expert, and so this is the first book by him that I've had, and I was really excited to just like learn more, dive into it, broaden my knowledge of something that I'm really interested in. And I was pleasantly surprised by how much he talked about artists and how high a regard he has for them, because I never knew that. And typically when I'm thinking about mythology, like, I'm thinking about art and I'm thinking about the way that they work together and how much mythology inspires art, but I wasn't expecting artists to really inspire the people who research mythology. I feel like a lot of I feel like some people kind of treat art as though it's supplemental to the mythology and not like necessary for it. So it was really exciting reading this conversation, because it's a transcription of a conversation he had with Bill Moyers. It was just really inspiring hearing him talk about how high regard he has for artists and how important he thinks they are to like the development of society and the way that humans interact with their mythologies. I notated this book. I don't know. Can you see that? Kind of. So let me find some notes that I took here. Okay, so here's one of the quotes. The discussion is centering around like environment shaping the story, and the way that people respond to their environment, and the way that our culture and our environment shape who we are as a society. I mean, that's pretty obvious, but sometimes you just need someone to say it. So he says, myth must be kept alive. The people who can keep it alive are artists of one kind or another. The function of the artist is the mythologization of the environment and the world. So I just thought that was so exciting to read. Like, mythology is incredible. Like, to Joseph Campbell, it's extremely important to the way that our society works and the way that we instill morals and the way that we bond, and to have someone so respected and so knowledgeable specifically call out all types of artists as the people who can keep that alive, it was really meaningful to me. Now, I've said before, I don't think being creative has anything to do with being spiritual or has any kind of like religious connotation. It's just something that we do, or something that I do to feel more at peace and tell a story. But I do think it's really fantastic that, again, it's being brought up in this mythological context as something that is important and something that has a really specific and meaningful job in the way that, you know, we live, and in the way that we interact with each other, and in the way that we create a functioning society. Another portion that I highlighted in here, Bill Moyers asks, who interprets the divinity inherent in nature for us today? Who are the shamans? And Campbell responds and he says, it's the function of the artist to do this. Again, just super inspired, because I love thinking about art this way. There was a lot of discussion last year, since it was unprecedented, you know, and like so much change, so many like firsts, so many big events happening, pandemic, like the election, a lot of the protests, like these were things that would be captured in art. And I heard a lot of artists and like gallery owners, people talking about how it would be fascinating to see like what the art created during this time will look like, and how people who come after us will look to the art that was made during this time as kind of a representation of how we were reacting to things. And that's totally reiterated in this quote from Campbell, talking about how art plays such a huge part in painting, like giving a representation of where we are and what we value and all of that stuff. What a way with words I have. It's just gratifying. I hear a lot of people, a lot of the people who I said saying that, like saying the art that's created at this time is going to be so important. Like a lot of the people I heard saying that were artists. So even though I think it's true, it's like, well, maybe I'm biased because I'm an artist, you know, like of course I'm going to think what I'm doing is important. But to read it being said by someone who isn't an artist, and also being said unprompted, basically, like years ago, talking about something totally different, this is very validating and like very empowering. Not that I think of myself as a shaman. I'm the opposite of a shaman if ever there was one, but like just the mood of that statement I felt like was really empowering and really thought-provoking. I don't know if you can totally see all these lines that I'm adding, but you should be able to see the difference that it's making. And reading that also just kind 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 of renewed my sense of purpose making these works. Well, I've talked about how they're a representation of like where my head is with everything that happened this year, and also how they serve as kind of an autobiographical visual representation of my experiences and experiences of those close to me. Sometimes though, it can feel like making work for no one, and reading stuff like that renews the sense of purpose. Like, yes, this is important. This isn't a waste of time or talent to make work like this, because just the act. It was a really great read. I learned a lot. It was a really soothing book to read. Like, it's very relaxing, just reading a conversation between two people. I really recommend it, especially if you're an artist, but if you're any human person, I think you would really find this book enjoyable, and it really makes you think. It really makes you think about how humans have so much in common. It's really exciting to see all the different stories that different cultures tell that are totally separate from each other, but so similar. I would call it like a feel-good read. So if you like nonfiction, for sure, but even if you typically prefer fiction, I think you would enjoy it just because the subject matter is mythology. Like, that's fiction. Okay, so this is pretty exciting because even though it felt like the lines I was adding were so minuscule, I can already see the difference, like when I take a step back, how it's so much darker up here. So it's gonna be really cool and time consuming doing that to this whole thing, but it's gonna be amazing when it's done. And it's also gonna make me wanna add more details in other places, but I will cross that bridge when I get to it. Let me know what you think of this video. Let me know if you liked my small synopsis of this book. I focused on like the parts relevant to artists, but again, there's so much good discussion in here about like religion, different cultures, modern culture versus older cultures, like men and women, things like that. It's awesome. So I'd be interested to hear if you decide to read the book or if you've already read it. What did you think? And thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Kind of said that already. Let me know what you think. Kind of said that already too. And please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Kind of gives me an idea on if these videos are doing it for anyone besides me. I like making them. But again, thank you, and I will talk to you later.